What's going on, America? My name's Oliver Mack, and I'm here to tell my story of how I went from Feel the Burn to MAGA. So I was a huge Bernie Sanders supporter in 2015, 2016. I was a huge Young Turks fan around that time too. So my transformation was pretty incredible. I agreed with Bernie on Medicare for all. I agreed with a lot of the socialist talking points that he had. I felt like those were good things for our country. Like, I was such a huge Bernie Sanders fan. In 2016, for my birthday, I had a Bernie Sanders cake that said "Feel the Burn." Like, it was that bad. Like, I look back at that now and I'm kind of embarrassed. It's interesting because when I supported Bernie Sanders back then, a lot of my friends and family thought I was crazy for doing so. They said that his policy positions were, quote unquote, rainbows and unicorns, right? They said there's no way he could pay for all the stuff that he was trying to do. And this was Democrats saying this. This was liberal people that were saying this. So it's interesting today that, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have adopted a lot of the Bernie Sanders policies, and all of a sudden they're not rainbows and unicorns and they make sense. Go figure. So I supported Bernie Sanders for probably about a year and a half, and I voted for him in the primaries. I thought he should be president. Turns out they wanted Hillary, and that kind of made me a little upset. But I told them, if Hillary wins the nomination, she's going to lose to Trump because she's a horrible candidate. Just a horrible candidate. I told everyone this. I was like, if you want Hillary, you're going to get Trump. And I didn't hate Trump. I just wasn't Republican. I was a Democrat and had been a Democrat all my life. So there was no switching for me. I just thought, I'm black. This is what black people do. You vote Democrat because Republicans are for rich white people. I wasn't rich and not white either. So I stayed in my lane, so to speak. So while I was supporting Bernie, I had got a lot into the whole Black Lives Matter movement. When the Mike Brown situation happened, I said to myself, the picture that they're trying to paint just doesn't seem right. I've been around black people my whole life. It doesn't seem like what would happen if a black person encountered police, that they would just be there with their hands up and then the police just shoot them for no reason. That didn't sound right. So I did some research. And it actually wasn't right. But I had seen all the media outlets that were covering this story, and they made it seem like their narrative was true, even though they had no evidence except their eyewitness testimonies, which turns out now they were lying. But I look at that situation and I would talk to all my friends about it, and nobody was on my side. I said, this doesn't seem right. This is not what's going on. It can't be what's going on. I've seen evidence on the contrary, and this just seems like a made-up story. Nobody was on my side. They, my friends and family, they hated me for going against the narrative that Mike Brown was this innocent teenager, this gentle giant, like they say. So since I had nobody that believed me or even wanted to listen to what I had to say, I went to YouTube and started searching for people who agree with me. Because when you're the only person in your circle who thinks a certain way, it kind of makes you feel like you're alone. So I found some YouTubers who agree with me, and I didn't know it at the time, but it turns out they had something in common, and they were all conservative. So I didn't know what conservatives were back then, but I was still on the Bernie Sanders train, even though I was thinking outside the box and kind of exploring some different avenues that I didn't know about. So anyway, Bernie wasn't really supporting Black Lives Matter at that time until he had some Black Lives Matter people interrupt a rally that he was doing. They jumped on stage and he allowed it to happen. And that's when I kind of thought, well, maybe he's with them. I said, if he's with them, I'm not with him. So you had that happen. And then you had, after he lost the nomination, you had him supporting Hillary. When that happened, I was like, okay, he's not the person that I thought he was. He's definitely not. So I disavowed Bernie Sanders at that point. And when Trump won, I laughed. I laughed a hearty laugh to everyone I knew. Because I knew she would lose. I said it, she would lose. They didn't want to believe me. So they got what they deserved. That was just how I felt back then. But as this was going on, there were more police shootings that were happening and more BS from the media. So I started going deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole. I started finding more people that agreed with me and more conservatives. But like I said, I didn't know it then that this is what these people had in common until it was probably 2017. I started to think, well, I guess I have a lot of conservative views. That's what I said back then. I started to pick up on what I was seeing, and I said, a lot of what these people are saying, because I started looking into more of their videos and more of what they had to say about different situations that were not related to Black Lives Matter. So I said, a lot of these people are right about a lot of these things. And a lot of their viewpoints actually align with mine. Because my whole MO had been helping the Black community. I felt like the way to help the Black community was not with handouts, welfare, government assistance, anything like that, but it was with accountability. I felt like not having a father in the home was so detrimental to a child's life. All the out of wedlock births that were happening. Because I worked in these communities. I worked in the hood. I lived in the hood. So I saw these things, and I saw the result of certain behaviors, the results of certain decisions that were made that directly aligned with what they were talking about. So I paid attention, started looking into more and more. I found people like Brandon Tatum. I found people like Larry Elder. I found people like Anthony Brian Logan, Thomas Sowell. I found all these people at that time, and everything they were saying made sense. But I still wasn't ready to call myself a conservative. I still wasn't ready to support Donald Trump. Even though I had also seen that the media was lying about him. I knew there was backlash that would come with supporting Donald Trump, and that's not the reason that I didn't. It just, hey, I'm black, so I'm supposed to be a Democrat. That was my thought process. And in 2019 is when I finally woke up. He said, okay, who I really am is a conservative. Who I really should be voting for are Republicans. Because the majority of what they believe in, I believe in. I was anti-gun in 2015. I was one of those people that said guns kill people. That was me back then. Some people didn't agree with that, even though they're liberals, they didn't agree with that. But I see now that I was wrong. I have a family to protect. And the worst feeling in the world, like I would lay down at night to go to sleep and felt like if someone were to break into our house, I would be defenseless. I wouldn't be able to defend my family. As a father and a husband, that sucks to think about the fact that you wouldn't be able to defend your family if something were to happen. So this year, I went out and bought my first gun. Then I bought another one. I said, not gonna catch me slipping in here. And I became a gun advocate. Because as long as you protect yourself, you do some training, you do some research, you make sure you keep it out of the reach of your kids, then it's not a problem. It's there in the rare case that you may need it. So I'm happy about that. But going back, 2019, that's when I decided I'm a conservative. And I like Donald Trump. I like the things that he's doing. I started doing a lot of research. I spent a lot of time online. I spent a lot of time on YouTube. Spent a lot of time reading. And I actually like Donald Trump, and I like the things that he's been doing, especially for the black community. He actually speaks to the black community. When someone talks about a black agenda, it usually involves prison reform. Now, I don't like that at all. I believe there are a ton of black people who have never been to prison and never will go to prison. So I don't think anyone's black agenda should include prison reform, but for a lot of black people, that's what they want. That's the number one thing on their list is prison reform. And Donald Trump did something about that. First Step Act. Opportunity zones. Let's talk about that. Giving people in these low-income areas that are predominantly minority, giving them opportunities, giving them chances to have businesses in their areas so people can get jobs. Kudos for that, Tim Scott. Shout out to you. A Republican, a black Republican. So we have a lot of other things. We have these peace deals. We have just him working with Kim Jong-un and all these other people that past presidents have failed to work with, have failed to build some kind of relationship with that keeps us out of harm's way. Donald Trump has done that. So there's a lot of positive things that Donald Trump has done, and I looked at all that, and I said, I'm going to be a Trump supporter. Put it all on the line because of what I believe in. And I believe that the Democrats are trying to destroy the very foundation of this country, and I want to make sure that I preserve it for my child. That's the most important thing to me, right now is making sure that I preserve the great things about this country for my child. Because Democrats have gone crazy. I don't want my child to be judged because of the color of his skin. But that's what Democrats want to happen. He shouldn't receive any benefits at all because he's a black child. He should receive benefits because he works hard, because his parents provide a great life for him. That's the only privilege that I see. So, Donald Trump is working hard for America, and I stand with him as he finishes his work in the next 4 years. I want to see our country become more prosperous. I want us to kill all this talk about race and racism because it's not a major issue in this country, and I'll debate anybody about that. You can't make up racism. You can't make everything racism because it's not. Democrats use that every year to get you to vote for them. They know it's not a problem. Why is Joe Biden talking about systemic racism now? Was he talking about it 4 years ago? Was he talking about it 8 years ago? Was he talking about it 10 years ago? No. Why is he talking about it now? Because it's the Democrats' talking point. It's what gets black people to vote Democrat. Let's scare them with this white supremacy boogeyman just so we can get them to vote for us. Because we're going to tell them that the other side are the white supremacists. Don't be a one-issue voter. If that's all the Democrats have to offer you, saying they're going to do something about systemic racism when they didn't do anything about it since they've been in office, and Joe Biden has been in office for 47 years and didn't do anything about it, we're better than that. We're more intelligent than that, right? Let's act like it on November 3rd and vote Trump. Peace out, guys.